Good meowing, guys, gals, zimbies, and YouTube catters. Well, in case you have been living under a rock for the past 2 weeks, Konami has announced a brand new format for the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. This Genesys format technically has no ban list, but while at the same time, there are no Pendulum and Link monsters allowed. Every other card in the pool has been given a point total ranging from 0 to 100, and official tournament rules are currently set for decks to consist of cards totaling 100 points. This includes your side and extra decks. Now, I've been really loving this format recently, as it's kind of lowered the power level a little bit of the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and has allowed for a lot of creative choices and creative deck building. It's really given some of these archetypes that really didn't get the chance to shine due to other stronger decks being more powerful in their current meta. Decks like Punk, Art Mage, Automat have been just on the cusp of being playable in the TCG, but now really have a chance to shine and really have a chance to see some play in an official format. So, since it's a new format and because of my mental illness, I've decided to build White Forest to take to locals and the new official side events at YCSs. So without further ado, I present to you Genesys White Forest or Light Forest. Here's the list, and as you can see, we're still running the typical White Forest starter names: your triple LZ, your triple Sylvie, your one LZ Azamina, and now we are on 2 Stellar of the White Forest, since we do need more names. And since a lot of your mainstay hand traps, your Ash Blossoms, your Joel and Lockbirds, Effect Failers, Imperms, things like that, all have a point cost, a lot of decks are choosing either to not run them or run few numbers of them, or sacrifice their points in their main deck running an engine that doesn't have any point total cost so that they can fit in hand trap, making their actual engine weaker. So we get to actually leverage and play the Stellar now, since we are currently seeing less hand traps in the format. To round it off, since we are playing a Stellar, we are also on the 1 Rusia. What also hasn't been given a point total: the Diabelle's the White Witch and Diabelle Star Vengeance, Philia Diabelle, and Cursed Diabelle package. This 4-card package being your strongest engine inside the White Forest package. So we're happy to see that this engine has not been hit and we can still leverage this engine. But since the Azamina engine, as well as Diabelle Star, the Black Witch, has all been given point totals, we are electing to run the Toy Box engine, which is untouched. So we're on 3 Toy Soldier, 1 Toy Tank, and then 3 Toy Boxes. And then we're on a cheeky little card that I enjoyed since playing White Forest long before the Azamina engine when it first came out over a year ago in Infinite Forbidden. And that is Iris Sword Soul. Iris Sword Soul during the main phase is kind of a hand trap during your opponent's turn. If an opponent special summons, depending on where they special summon, if they special summon from the hand, you're allowed to then special summon this card and then special summon 1 monster from your hand. If they special summon from the deck, this allows you to draw 2 cards. And if they special summon from the extra deck, you can then destroy one of the monsters that was special summoned from the extra deck. More importantly, this card is also a Spellcaster Light monster, allowing us to search it off of our Resillia. And since we summon back in our combos Sylvie and Rusia by shuffling Resillia back into the grave, they come back onto the field with their effects negated. This allows us to special summon this Iris Sword Soul to go into Synchro 12 plays or overlay into our 8s. For the rest of the engine, we're on 2 Tales of the White Forest, since we do need a lot of spells and traps in this deck to be able to send off of our Stellar. 1 Scourge of the White Forest, since we like to go first. And again, since we're not on the Sinful Spoils cards, we have plenty of room for some of these White Forest spells that didn't really get to see play too much in Modern. We are on 1 Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, and this is just to search out going first with LZ Azamina if we happen to start or need to go through LZ Azamina during our line. This also lets us extend a little bit further because we can search it out with the LZ Azamina, then go our Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to special summon like the Stellar or the LZ or Sylvie from our hand if we need to make more material. Then we're on Triple Piri Raise Mount. This is also a card from the original builds of White Forest, in which this card At the start of your main phase 1 allows you to add 1 monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, but you have to have your life points as the cost. After adding it to your hand until the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, you can now activate added monster's effects or the effects of cards with its name until you normal summon that monster or a card with its name. So this card is your Rhoda. Since we aren't able to play 3 of the field spell, the field spell being the most highly costed point total out of this entire archetype at 33, means we have to get a little bit creative and play this Piri Reis map to Rhoda out and search out our Stellar. To also make sure we are hitting our engine, we are on 3 Upstart Goblin. We can actually leverage the Upstart Goblin since it's not once per turn. This allows us to Upstart Goblin, then during our combo get it back with Diabell, Upstart Goblin again for a pseudo Pot of Greed. For our flex spot, we are currently on 2 Dark Ruler No More. These 2 cards can honestly be anything. Honestly, these 3 cards could really be anything, depending on what the format kind of shifts into. We don't really have too great of going second cards in the main, but if you're playing in a format where a lot of decks are setting a ton of back row, you can run something like Double Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twisters or things like that in this slot instead. We are on the 1 Foolish Burial Good since we had 3 points left over from our point totals. This allows us to dump our Curse of Diabell for a 1 card starter into the Diabells and Diabell Star package. Then, since we are on all light monsters, we are on Triple Dominus Purge as our main interaction, quote unquote hand trap. The only main deck monster that we have in this list that is dark, that gets shut off by Dominus Purge, is the Diabell Star Vengeance. So if you do activate Dominus Purge during your opponent's turn, let's say we're going second, we activate Dominus Purge from our hand to stop an opponent's search. We would just use our Diabell Star as level 8 material at that point. It is important to note though that Diabell Star Vengeance special summons by effect. So if you do activate Dominus Purge, you would have to special summon out Diabell Star Vengeance via your Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. You wouldn't be able to activate the Diabell Star Vengeance effect to banish a spell or a trap. And then to round out the list, we are on 1 Monodium Reframing and 1 Woes of the White Forest. For our extra deck, we are on the 1 Poplar of the White Forest, 1 Zapper Shrimp, this card coming out in info as well. Saw a little bit of fringe play since we could summon it off of Diabell, Queen of the White Forest, to go into Zapper Shrimp to quick synchro into cards like Chaos Angel during our opponent's turn. 1 Golden Cloud Beast Malong as a level 6 tuner. 1 Immortal Dragon as a level 6 dark tuner, and very important definition coming up here in a little bit. 1 Tri-Edge Master as an additional card draw. Our Rasilia, our Silvera, and our Diabell costed at 25 points. A Visas Amitara. This card was seeing a lot of play again during the info and early stages of White Forest. It is a level 8 Synchro Tuner. It only requires 1+ tuners and 1+ light monster. Very important that it says 1+ tuners, because then we are allowed to get to this by using both our Sylvie and our Rusio. Whether we special summon our Rusia from our hand and then shuffle back our Rasilia, special summon the Rasilia out of grave to make a level 8. Then we have our Arms of Genex Return 0. If you played White Forest or kept up with White Forest back before we had access to the Azumina engine, you would be familiar with this card. This was our pseudo Baron DeFleur at home. Since Baron was banned before White Forest came out, you could make Arms of Genex Return 0 before your 5th summon to be an anti-Nibiru line. And our next level 10 is Fabled Levy Lazabelle. This is a level 10 that we can get into from the Zapper Shrimp with Diabell, or with Poplar and Tri-Edge, or any of our level 4s, our toys, into our level 6 tuners. Once per turn during the main phase, you quick effect, you can tribute any number of fabled monsters. You would tribute the fabled, and if you do, take control of that many face-up monsters your opponent controls, but their effects are negated. And it's kind of like a pseudo Holy Sue. Our level 12s, we have Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon to make off of our Poplar, and our Diabell Star Vengeance are our level 8s over here. Despian Lulu Walilith, a level 12 Synchro monster that once per turn, if a card leaves the extra deck, you can make all monsters you currently control gain 500 attack permanently, Then you can negate the effects of one face-up card on the field. Then to wrap up our extra deck, we are on one Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, just in those long grindy games or in games that we're going second and we don't have a great opening hand. And then we finally have our number 38 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. So let me show off one combo line that really incorporates every aspect, every tool of this deck, and shows like how busted some of these boards can actually get. Alright, so start of main phase 1, we're going to activate our Period Raise map. Again, this card has to be the first thing you activate, so do not forget that. Don't go into your toy box or anything yet. Period Raise map is going to add our Stellar. So in case we get drolled here, we still do get to play through droll slightly, as we get to activate our toy box, and toy box sets the 2 toys from deck, as well as a Stellar just special summoning from deck. So we're going to activate our toy box here. We're going to set our toy soldier and our toy tank. Now we're going to normal summon our Stellar. And we're going to go with Stellar effect to send our toy soldier. If you don't get drolled, of course, you always want to send your toy soldier first, because if you send your toy soldier, then you, in case they have Ash, Imperm, Effect Veiler, or anything like that for your Stellar, your toy soldier can special summon and add us our level 4. So we're going to special summon our Sylvie here. Then we're going to go Sylvie effect to add a spell or trap. And then you can actually chain block it with toy soldier's effect to special summon from the grave. So we'll add us our White Forest spell and trap. Since we have plenty of engine here, we're just going to add our Scourge of the White Forest, so we have at least one guaranteed negate outside of this Menadium or framing that we opened. The toy soldier will then activate after being special summoned and allow us to add either a toy box or a level 4. We're just going to choose to add the level 4 Rusia here. This is summon number 4. We're going to go into our Immortal Dragon. And then for summon number 5, we are going to synchro those 2 off to make our Arms of Gen X return 0. So in case the opponent has Nib, we are protected from Nib now because Arms of Gen X returns 0. It says whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect, you can banish 1 monster from your graveyard with the same attribute, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that monster. We can banish up to 1 attribute per turn, and only once that turn. So this is technically a negate of any dark monster effect, like a DD Crow or a Skullmeister, something like that in this format. And it also negates Nibiru by banishing a light monster that we don't need. So now we'll go into our LZ, since we are protected underneath this Arms of Gen X return 0. We'll send that toy tank. And this is going to add us our Diabelle's the White Witch, so we can make sure we hit that engine. Toy tank will now activate special summoning from grave. Now, since we control a White Forest monster, we are going to special summon our Rusia. We can now activate our Rusia and send this Scourge of the White Forest, since it's free material, to draw us a card. And Scourge is going to set itself. We're going to synchro these 2 off into our 4 White Forest combo now of Rusilia. Rusilia is then going to send the spare toy box, since we can always get that back with the rest of our combo. And it's going to add us our Iris Sword Soul, since Iris Sword Soul is a light spellcaster monster. Rusilia Search is the only search that can add Iris Sword Soul from the deck, but if you don't need to add Iris Sword Soul, you can always add like Tales of the White Forest, Woes of the White Forest, things like that off of Rusilia, of course. Now, because we sent a spell, a trap to activate a monster effect, this is going to trigger our Stellar in the Grave to special summon. We can now activate that Upstart Goblin just in case, if we want to. We drew into LZ, great. It doesn't really affect the inboard too much, but we'll still go full combo here. We'll synchro these 2 off into Diabelle. We'll get back that toy box. Important to note that toy box is soft once per turn, so if we do activate another one, we do get the effects again to either set or pop a card. Now, since we do control toy box, we can go toy tank effect, and toy tank lets us special summon 1 level 6 or lower monster from our hand. Or if you control toy box, you can special summon it from your grave as well. So we'll special summon back that Rusilia. And now we can go Elza Azamina to special summon, just in case we want that Sinful Spoils card. But if you didn't want access to this line, you could just go Rusia or Silvera, target Rusilia to special summon from the extra deck by shuffling Rusilia back. This lets us special summon out Iris Sword Soul, and we would have 2 level 8s that way. But we'll use these 2 to make our Visas Amatara. A Visas Amatara would search the Monodium reframing here, but we open the Monodium reframing. But this does allow us to search out a Sinful Spoils card for our Diabelle's the White Witch to send, and for another form of extension. Now we'll go Diabelle's the White Witch effect, send that Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. Diabelle is then going to activate, dumping the Curse of Diabelle. But we get to chain block it, of course, with Sinful Spoils of the White Forest to set itself. Curse of the Diabelle is going to then add us our Filia Diabelle. Filia Diabelle will then add us our Diabelle Star Vengeance. So we have 2 level 8s on the board already, and we just need to make a little bit more space on our board. So we can overlay these 2 level 8s for our Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. If we are like game 3 or game 2 guaranteed going first, or post side basically guaranteed going first, and we're afraid of board breakers, then you can instead just keep the Diabelle's the White Witch, and again use that line with the Rusia and Iris Sword Soul as our level 8s, so that we can end off some board protection as well. We'll banish our spell and our trap for our Diabelle Star Vengeance. Toy box will set 1 toy since we want to leave space for this Monodium framing. And important to note, since in Genesys format there is no extra monster zone, we need to make sure we leave at least 1 space open for our Diabelle effect and our Diabelle Star Vengeance effect, so we can summon out these Synchro Tuners during our opponent's turn to go into the rest of our plays. So let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know what you think of Genesys format, and if this is something that you're interested in trying or interested in seeing more videos and gameplay of. Like I said, I've been really enjoying this format so far. There's a lot of thought going in behind deck building currently, and that nothing has been really figured out yet. It's something I highly recommend trying, especially if you are a returning player to the TCG, or someone who's just been kind of like burnt out a little bit and just wants something new from their TCG as well. Of course, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas about the list, or if you've been running White Forest as well, I'm working on building White Forest for the Genesys format as well, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, good night.